I am outside right now because I'm on timeout. Why am I on a timeout? Because I am cultivating my skills, enhancing my knowledge, building a network, just working on myself by taking a gap year. So I'm a disappointment, I guess. Good greetings, everyone. This is Limaya again, and let's talk. Let's talk about something. So, as I've mentioned, I am taking a gap year now. For some of you, it may not be a big deal. For some of you, you may think, why is she wasting her time like this? Why is she wasting away her life? Let's talk about it. So, I graduated this year, 2025, and I'm taking a gap year this year. What were people's reactions to that? What did people think about it? For the most part, no one says anything bad, okay, but it's those little glances, like not this kind, that, but it's sort of like it sort of looks like the reaction's similar to what the face that Habibi here is making, okay, that kind of reaction. Most people, they don't really say it aloud. They're like, oh, it's okay, and there's this silent judgment, there's this silent disappointment that you can just see, you can just understand. So that's what society's reaction has been. And perhaps for the most part in Nagaland, at least, it's sort of an embarrassment, a disappointment for everything that, or all the groups, social groups, cultural groups, whatever that I'm attached with. It's an embarrassment for them. So yeah, that's what it is. I think a big part of why this happens is because of competition and comparison that is rooted in our society. Human beings are part of culture, part of society, and what the larger group decides upon is what becomes the standard, what becomes the norm, right? Wait, let me give you an example. Where is... Okay, so say hi. Hi. So let's say Kitty is my family, right? I tell Kitty, there is this our neighbor's Kitty can now recognize different types of cats. So why can't you do that? Why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you trying to do that already? Why aren't you on your journey towards that? Why aren't you doing that? But Kitty over here is trying to learn how to walk right now properly. Probably she can't even run yet, right? So Kitty is trying to run. So Kitty is trying to do something. She is on her way in her journey to do something, to learn something, and her being able to focus on walking, running right now is going to help her in the future, in the long run. So, there is this don't do that. So there is this sort of silent comparison, this competition between people that exists, especially when it comes to people who are in similar pursuits, have similar goals, or even if they're different. If somebody gets a job by 24, then somebody who is 21 is now pressured to get a job by 24 as well. That kind of, the competition, the comparison exists. And so I think when someone does not go in the same linear path that the standard society has made, then it's looked upon as a disgrace, as a disappointment, as something that is stupid to do. Especially in the context of Nagaland, I think, okay, I'm not an expert in this. This is just what I observed, is that we are so focused on jobs, we glorify jobs, and some certain jobs. Those certain jobs happen to be jobs that have an age limit, that if you cross the limit, you can't get the job anymore. So there's just this rush is there, that I need to get this job before I reach this certain age. And also we have this standard made for, you need to get married by this age, or you need to do this, you need to do that. That pressure is there as well. So you need to get married by this age, which means that before you reach this age, you have to get a job. So before you reach this age to get a job, you have to finish your education by this time. So there's this timeline standard that society has already made that you have to follow. So it sort of makes everybody's life seem linear, just one line where everybody has to just rush and go. So I mean, there are different sides to taking gap years. There are disadvantages, there are advantages. I think like it exists with everything, right? So I thought, since this is a chill video, right, let's not get into research, but let's go and check out the most reliable source of knowledge and information on the internet: Reddit. Okay, okay, somebody asks this question: is taking a gap year a bad idea? There's a reply to OP saying, nothing wrong with a gap year. As I graduated in blah blah blah, I spent time playing games and doing nothing. Huge waste of time. Exactly. So I would say, if you're going to do a gap year, be productive in something. Get a part-time or a full-time job. Either way, it's up to you. There are certain pros and cons to everything. Exactly. Wasting your time, right? Maybe you take a break and you just, instead of doing something productive, or maybe instead of, where here comes the aspect of where sometimes we struggle with mental health issues and we just can't be productive. We just can't do this big task, right? Even small tasks become so difficult when you have mental health issues. So during those times, I think you don't have to rush to do what everybody else is doing. You don't have to rush to be productive and just do your best. Just do what you can, right? But if you're okay, if you're physically okay, you're mentally okay, and it doesn't want to leave me, if you just take a gap year and just waste your time just being unproductive, being lazy, then that is a waste of time. So that is an unproductive gap year, and that's not what I'm advocating for over here. But it's not like I'm even advocating for gap years though. Well, let's just wait. We'll continue the conversation. Now somebody says, gap year was the best thing I did after graduating high school. It helped that many of my friends did this as well. I recommend a gap year to everybody, to everyone and anyone. See, this is what I'm talking about. Gap year worked for this person, but I don't think it works for everyone and anyone. Most people take a gap year never go back, or at least that is what I keep reading. Yeah, this is one of the criticisms that gap years get a lot, is that, especially when it comes to academia, people say that if you take a gap year in between your academic journey, then you'll lose your momentum. It'll be difficult for you to get back on track. But I think it just depends on a person. You know yourself best. Okay, I know people who take gap years, who study during the gap years, just not just study, but enhance other skills and all that experience of that 1 year that they spent in working on themselves. It helps them absorb the knowledge that they get in their further education even more. I did one after uni, and honestly was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I'm planning on encouraging my kids to do the same thing if they want to when they come of age. This is the main thing. This is what I believe. Gap year worked for her. Okay, and she says, I'm planning to encourage my kids to do the same thing if they want to. If they want to. Gap year has been good for her, but it doesn't mean that the children have to do what was good for her. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Wait. I am so cute. Oh. Somebody asked, is gap of 1 year really that bad? And somebody says, okay, this gap will definitely make it harder for you to get your first job. In the long run, it won't matter as much as you progress in your career. This is very true. I think it's very real and something realistic to think about, to consider, because there are still people that will sort of see you taking a gap as something is in a negative manner. They'll take it in a negative manner. Even this counts not just for job, but even for college applications. So it is true. It is very real. And sometimes taking a gap year could be a drawback when you apply for things. Sometimes that's something something realistic when you can think about. Somebody replied, I didn't have a job for 5 years, but kept learning new things, created many things, started my own thing, but then failed again, then got a job. So don't worry about all that. Just start learning and creating. That's very true. And then OP continues and says that I kept making learning. Then one day, one of those opportunities translated into something more. So don't lose hope. Don't stop learning and explore more. And don't keep crying that this one thing is not working out, that your path is not the same as others. This is very true. And I understand, I know that there are some of you who have, who have been attempting to give exams for many years, who have been studying for so long, trying to enhance your skills for so many years, trying to get some job, and now you still haven't. And the next step that you need to take, I can't tell you about what to do about that, right? That's, yeah. But what I would say is that don't think that you have wasted those years. If you have been studying, if you have been gaining knowledge, if you have been cultivating skills, then it never goes to a waste. Okay, even if you did not get your goal, reach your goal yet, even if you didn't crack the exam, even if you did not get that certain job yet, working on yourself never goes to waste. And sometimes, the things that we cultivate in life, our skills, our knowledge, whatever, personality, it manifests itself in other forms. Like, it helps us in our relationships, it helps us in our daily lives, in our spirituality, and our religion, in our beliefs, in our values. So working on yourself never goes to a waste. So I just want to encourage you with that. So taking a gap year has its benefits. You get to know yourself better, understand your purpose better. Yeah, it reduces stress, burnout, they say. You can improve in academic performances, in your skills and leadership and such. But also, it has the chance of maybe you losing your spark, you losing your passions as life goes on. There is this risk of becoming stagnant and lazy, because when you're in college, when you are when you're doing a job or something, then you have that pressure to keep on grinding, right? But when no one is really, there's no such institution that's forcing that upon you, you might get stagnant and lazy. So you need to know yourself. Finances are another big issue, and I completely understand that. And that goes for both ways, because taking a gap year could be beneficial for financially for some people, but it could also be a disadvantage for some people, right? That we need to consider that as well. Others might view taking a gap year negatively, right? We've been talking about that. And in another context, for example, especially in the West, it's good to take a gap year, especially if you're productive, right? So two sides of a coin. So what am I trying to say from all this? I'm not advocating for taking a gap year. I'm not advocating for not taking a gap year as well. What I'm trying to say is that things work differently for everybody. There is no one linear path that everybody is supposed to follow and take. So don't be pressured to meet standards. Don't be pressured to follow the normal path that they say it's safe. Sometimes taking the safe path is better. Sometimes taking the other route is better, right? Let's open our minds to being able to follow different paths for a career, for education, or whatever in life. And yeah, honestly, if you have been one of those people who have been kind of talking bad about this entire video, maybe you wasted your time, maybe you wasted a lot of your years. And I've been there, I've done that as well, okay? So yeah, honestly, you can't get those years back. Because there are consequences for our actions. I've made mistakes in the past, I experience consequences for that. You wasted some of your years, you cannot get those years back. But there's still hope. If you turn around, start getting productive, start working hard, start investing in yourself and focusing on God as well, then you still have hope. God exists beyond time, right? Jesus is not bound by time. Whether you think you're too late for things, whether you think you've wasted all your life, whether you think that you have not done anything for your life still now, or you may think that everything you've done so far is pointless. No, we have hope in God. The conclusion is this: for us to be able to be alive, to be breathing, it's a blessing from God. It's something that we don't even deserve, honestly, but God blesses us with it, right? And so it's our responsibility to use this life, our time, this blessing that we have, in a productive manner. And that looks different for everybody, whether you decide to take a gap year, or whether you decide to not take a gap year, or just anything in life, whether you choose to do this career or follow another educational path. There is no one-way answer, no standard rule that everybody is supposed to follow, right? So just pray about it, ask God for wisdom, trust in Him, and don't worry too much about the future. We never really have everything figured out. I don't know how my future is going to look like. And sometimes, like I mentioned before, we are unable to have this long-term goal of our life. And it's okay sometimes. What we need to do right now is trust God in the present. Whatever you need to do at the moment, focus on that. Whether it's cultivating your skills, seeking knowledge, doing some work, job, internships, going to college, school, studying, just helping out your family, whatever it is, whatever that God wants you to do in the present right now, focus on that. Just do that. Just be obedient where you are, like David was, right? And at the right time, God will lead you. And let's trust Him in the present, trust Him with our future, and let's do what we need to do. Let's take this blessing and let's give our best in this life that God has blessed us with. So that is all for today. Probably next episode will come out on Sunday or something. So yeah, you can just expect that or something, I guess. Yeah, bye-bye. Say bye. Say bye. Okay.